the position that you're put in sometimes to be the public's guardian and the public's person that they can rapidly go to and be helped. I mean, that is the bottom line. When my police department used to do death notifications, family member, friend, whatever, be killed, traffic accident or murder or some type, and police officers, uniformed police officers, used to be assigned to go over to the next of kin and notify them of the death. What I noticed mostly was when I would knock on the door, I would immediately, without hesitation, be accepted as a person of 100% trust, 100% integrity, 100% that this person is not going to take advantage of the situation or me. Total trust. And that's even before saying one word. Now, policemen don't generally come on over to your house just to say hello and ask you how things are going, so it's generally bad news. Okay? You immediately, as quickly as you can, get that bad news out of the way. At this point, you see families, you see fathers, mothers, children, friends that are there that immediately put their entire trust into your hands on what to do next. What are they supposed to do next? Now here is a perfect stranger that's wearing a gun, a badge, and a uniform, and they are putting their life and their welfare in your hands. There is no better feeling. There's no more reward that you could possibly receive in any job. If you violate that relationship between strangers, immediate strangers, victims, witnesses, suspects too, if you violate that trust, well then you disgrace the entire police department. Anybody that does. And I will do my very utmost to see that that person does not wear that gun, that badge, and that uniform. I will do whatever I can to get rid of that person. Yeah, sure, we have a couple of bad apples that make it through the screening process. The screening process is not perfect, especially nowadays. And especially if you have political appointments by the boss. The boss appoints people to be a police officer and disregards the entire selection process. You're just asking for trouble. And usually it occurs.
Right.
So, violating that sacred oath, I can't think of anything worse to do. And as far as I'm concerned, you violate that sacred oath, why don't you just go and off yourself and let the rest of us do the job like we're supposed to.
Let's say that again. But instead of saying off yourself, maybe we should say find another line of work.
Well, I guess we could do that.
That would be the politically safe thing to say.
Well,
Let's be political, okay? Because we can use this later too.
Understand. Any individual that wears the gun, the badge, and the uniform that violates the sacred oath of office, the oath of honor, or the law enforcement code of ethics should just immediately go find something else to do and leave the individuals that believe in that sacred oath and follow it all the way to the end of their days. That would be a good thing. They would just go find another line of work, something that is totally different than law enforcement.
Okay. All right.
Is that a good night?
This is perfect. No, worked out great.
Let's do
Great.
this. Let's boil this down one more time and just say it. I want you to say it in 25 words or less.
Okay. Very good. I can do that.
Go.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. any individual that violates their oath of office, their sacred oath of honor, or the law enforcement code of ethics, needs to find a different line of work.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Perfect.
beautiful.
Perfect.
All right, so we did talk a little bit about corruption. We talked on it basically just a little bit there.
Mhm.
And we talked about it, and we talked about if you've got the money to,
Oh,
do that. How powerful are the attorneys like Chesnoff and Kalisis and people like that in the area? I mean, how powerful are the attorneys? That, I mean, Goodman being who he was and who he represented, Tony the Ant, and all this. I mean, how pervasive are the attorneys within the police department? I mean, usually there's supposed to be some sort of wall or fence between them, but do you see that a lot? Because I was going to ask you about about Kalisis is the head of the Friends of the Metro Police Department, and I can't say that it's a racket, but boy, it sure smells like it.
well, you've accurately described it. In my opinion, the attorneys in this community actually run the city. When they can indirectly cause the police department not to respond to non-injury traffic collisions and just allow the public to go ahead and work it out between themselves, which could include fist fights all the way to murder, and allow the public to let them dangle out there. And it was all done by the attorneys, because immediately the ads for help to the general public that gets involved in a traffic collision without injuries is apparent. They want people to tell them, and they will send associates out to the scene to investigate these traffic collisions. And I was running for sheriff at the time, and they asked us that question: do you think this is right? For decades, we have had police officers go to each and every individual traffic collision as a third party to investigate the collision, issue the appropriate citations, and fill out the report.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, it stopped, and only serious injury or fatal traffic collisions are being investigated by the police department. Well, that leaves the regular, everyday, average person hanging out there to dry.
Yeah.
Unless they get an attorney, and attorneys do not work for free.
No, they don't.
So they asked us all, candidates for sheriff, what we thought about that, and all of us, especially me, I told them that anybody who came up with that has got to be dumber than a rock.
Yeah.
So, guess what? They got so much heat. All of a sudden it went back. And all of a sudden all the advertisements for attorneys to investigate traffic collisions went away. Now when you have that kind of power, and I am directly aware of how the accident investigation deal was infiltrated by defense attorneys, the investigators, and there were 4 of us, and 3 of them were on the pad. They were being paid by defense attorneys who had clients that were involved in serious injury and very expensive traffic collisions to manipulate the traffic collision in order to change the blame, as it were.
Really?
Okay? Now I caught him at this. Of course, it wasn't my first rodeo. I told everybody I knew about it. They didn't want to hear it. The upper police management did not want to hear it. Perfect example of how how infiltrated the police department is by attorneys. Jones, Spring Mountain Road. Fire truck blows a red light, slams into a carload of teenagers and their father. Okay? Guess who gets the call? Me. I go on out there. Nobody wanted to help me with this one. I couldn't even get anybody to help me investigate this thing. Well, guess what? I found the fire department was at fault. I was a very unpopular person.
Or
It took me a month to investigate that case. I looked at it from 4 different angles to see if maybe I was wrong. I wasn't wrong. The octagon malfunctioned. It didn't change the lights. And now you got a carload of teenagers that are injured, including the father. Okay. Well, the lawyers didn't wait very long to get a hold of that one. They could smell the money, especially when they have somebody saying that the county was at fault and they were responding to an emergency call, and so you got 80,000 pounds of water that is pretty tough to stop when you're blasting through an intersection. Okay, that's what happened. Nobody meant for it to happen. That's the way it is.
Yep.
So, not only did the lawyers convince the police department that I was wrong, the lawyers convinced the police department to hire experts to refute what I had come up with. Now that's kind of a unique situation. I thought that's why I'm there.
Yep.
I'm supposed to be the impartial one. So the police department hires experts, expert reconstructionists, even previous experts that were in the unit that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real joy. I didn't know whose side I was on.
Right. So
So the county went to great lengths not to have to pay out money.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us that in a complete sentence.
Okay, so the county hires attorneys that convince the police department that my investigation was flawed and that these new experts and attorneys, the room with 9 people in it, I was the only one representing the police department, that said that my investigation was flawed. Well, the end result is what they did was they came to a settlement. They didn't say my investigation was flawed. They just came to a settlement that was a lot more agreeable to everybody, and it was all because of the attorneys.
Sure, the attorney's got to kick part of the settlement.
You bet.
What do you know about the Friends of the Vegas Police Department? You know anything about the Booster Club? Were they very active in promoting with the
Friends
police?
of the Police Department. Is that the ones that meet up there at the, not the Red Rock, that casino up there off of, is it Rainbow?
I think so. They're basically like a booster club. Their goal is supposed to be raising money to help the police department.
Right.
So, I mean...
The police department or the police officers?
No, it's the police department. It's supposed to be to buy dogs, helicopters.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, this is a George Kalisis operation.
Right.
And
understand that I was the president of the Injured Police Officers Fund for over 10 years. Okay? Now, that doesn't have anything to do with the police department. This is direct financial aid to police officers that were injured in the line of duty.
Yeah.
Okay? Replacing equipment, helping with their salary, that form.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the police department.
Right.
Okay? So, when you talk about these friends of the police department,
Yeah, it's Friends of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Okay. Basically it's a booster club. They say that their whole goal...
booster club for the upper police management?
Well,
or the booster club
don't
for
know.
the individual
Hard to say.